Imagine a moment when the global spotlight shifts, not because of a conflict, but because of strategic moves, bold statements, and the subtle dynamics of international relations. In recent days, one headline has captured attention: the United States, under the leadership of President Donald Trump, is once again making waves on the international stage, with Canada emerging as a potential focus amid heightened interest in Greenland. This is not just a story about politics, it's a story about strategy, national interest, and the complex dance of diplomacy that shapes the modern world. President Trump has always been recognized for his assertive approach to international relations. His leadership style emphasizes leverage, negotiation, and national advantage, often expressed in clear and sometimes provocative terms. The global reaction to such statements is predictable: headlines spike, social media lights up, and every country involved takes notice. Yet, behind the attention-grabbing words lies a structured approach to foreign policy that is deeply tied to long-term strategy, economic interests, and global positioning. Greenland, an autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark, has long held strategic importance for global powers. Its location in the Arctic provides significant military and geopolitical advantages, while its natural resources and potential shipping routes are becoming increasingly valuable as climate change reshapes the region. President Trump's interest in Greenland is consistent with a broader vision of maintaining and expanding U.S. influence in strategically important regions. While past media narratives sometimes suggested dramatic intentions, such as acquisition proposals, the reality is rooted in ensuring U.S. presence, security, and influence in a region of growing global significance. Now, attention has shifted northward to Canada, America's closest ally. At first glance, discussions of targets may sound alarming. However, the term here should be understood as a focus of diplomatic and strategic attention rather than conflict. Canada shares the longest undefended border with the United States, and its economic, cultural, and security ties with America are profound. Over the years, disagreements between the two nations have largely centered on trade, environmental policies, and resource management. These disagreements are natural among allies and are typically resolved through established diplomatic channels, negotiations, and mutual respect. President Trump's administration has always approached international relations through a lens of opportunity, often using strong language to emphasize negotiation positions. This style, while sometimes controversial, is consistent with a broader vision of protecting American interests while ensuring that alliances remain mutually beneficial. Canada's government, for its part, continues to emphasize cooperation, dialogue, and adherence to international agreements, creating a framework where strong rhetoric does not translate into conflict but instead fuels discussions, compromises, and long-term planning. The Arctic region, including Greenland, forms the backdrop for these developments. The rapid changes in this region, driven by climate change, are opening new economic, transportation, and security opportunities. Countries around the world are investing in Arctic capabilities, from infrastructure to military presence, to ensure that they can protect their interests in this emerging environment. The United States' attention to Greenland is part of this strategic recalibration, signaling that American interests in the Arctic will remain robust and proactive. Canada, with its extensive northern territories and indigenous partnerships, is equally focused on maintaining sovereignty and strengthening regional influence. It is critical to understand the distinction between strong political rhetoric and tangible policy actions. Headlines often highlight dramatic statements that capture attention, but actual diplomatic initiatives involve multi-layered processes, including consultations with advisors, coordination with international partners, and legal frameworks that guide decisions. While media narratives can make situations seem urgent or contentious, the underlying reality is one of careful, calculated diplomacy that preserves alliances while advancing national interests. Throughout history, periods of heightened rhetoric between allies have often coincided with deeper collaboration behind the scenes. Tensions in trade negotiations, environmental policy, and security strategy are not signs of breakdowns but rather signals that nations are actively protecting their interests while seeking mutually acceptable solutions. In the case of U.S.-Canada relations, the depth of economic interdependence, shared security obligations through NATO and NORAD, and historical ties make any actual breakdown extremely unlikely. The focus is on negotiation, alignment, and ensuring that both countries remain strong partners in a rapidly changing world. Public perception plays a significant role in international affairs. In both the United States and Canada, citizens watch developments with interest, often interpreting rhetoric through the lens of domestic politics. Strong statements from leaders can create concern or speculation, but democratic institutions, legal constraints, and established diplomatic practices act as stabilizing forces. In this context, discussions about Greenland or Canada highlight the complexity of modern diplomacy. Every statement is observed, every reaction is analyzed, and every move is part of a broader strategy rather than an isolated action. One of the most important aspects of this evolving story is the role of strategic communication. Leaders must communicate their priorities both domestically and internationally. President Trump's statements about Canada and Greenland reflect this dual purpose, signaling commitment to American interests to the domestic audience while simultaneously positioning the United States within global negotiations. The resulting media attention, while intense, is part of a long-standing tradition where leadership visibility and strategic messaging go hand in hand. The economic dimension also cannot be ignored. Trade, resource management, and market access are central to U.S.-Canada relations. Over the past decades, negotiations have included everything from automotive trade and tariffs to energy exports and agricultural agreements. Each policy decision is made with careful consideration of both nations' economies and the broader North American and global economic landscape. President Trump's assertive approach to negotiation highlights a commitment to ensuring favorable outcomes for the United States, while Canada's responses reflect careful balancing of sovereignty, economic interests, and long-standing partnerships. Security considerations remain equally critical. Canada and the United States cooperate closely on defense and intelligence through multiple channels, ensuring that both nations are prepared to respond to regional and global threats. Statements highlighting focus on Canada or Greenland should be interpreted within this framework: strategic positioning and defense readiness rather than confrontation. The Arctic, with its unique challenges, remains a priority area where collaboration is essential to maintaining peace, stability, and security. Looking forward, the relationship between the United States and Canada is poised to navigate an era of global change. Technological advancements, climate-related challenges, evolving trade dynamics, and shifting geopolitical landscapes all create opportunities and potential friction points. Strong leadership and assertive diplomacy, exemplified by President Trump's approach, ensure that the United States maintains a clear and proactive position while fostering continued collaboration with its closest allies. Canada, with its diplomatic expertise and strategic investments, is equally prepared to engage constructively. Understanding these dynamics requires a clear lens. Rhetoric and attention do not equate to conflict. Media narratives may amplify the sense of urgency, but actual policy decisions follow structured, deliberate processes designed to protect national interest while sustaining cooperation. Diplomatic escalation in modern contexts often refers to intensified discussions, negotiation leverage, or strategic signaling rather than military or economic aggression. Recognizing this distinction allows the public to engage with these stories thoughtfully, appreciating the strategic complexity behind the headlines. The Arctic's importance in this story cannot be overstated. As ice patterns shift, new shipping routes emerge, and resource extraction becomes feasible, nations with Arctic interests, including the United States and Canada, are recalibrating their priorities. President Trump's focus on Greenland reflects recognition of these strategic imperatives, signaling a commitment to ensuring that American interests are advanced in a region of growing global importance. Canada's northern territories, indigenous communities, and regional infrastructure initiatives demonstrate a parallel commitment to protecting sovereignty, resources, and regional stability. Media coverage, while often sensationalized, serves an essential role, keeping the public informed and providing insight into government priorities. Yet careful analysis reveals that behind every headline, there is a complex interplay of policy, strategy, and negotiation. President Trump's attention to Canada and Greenland is an example of proactive diplomacy, a signal to allies and rivals alike that the United States is prepared, engaged, and assertive in protecting its interests while seeking constructive solutions with partners. Public engagement in these discussions is crucial. Citizens in both nations benefit from understanding the distinction between rhetoric and policy, perception and reality. By examining verified actions, official statements, and historical patterns, it becomes possible to appreciate the strategic thought process driving decisions at the highest levels of government. Such understanding promotes informed discussion, reduces unnecessary alarm, and highlights the resilience of alliances built over decades. In conclusion, the story of President Trump turning attention toward Canada amid ongoing interest in Greenland is not a tale of imminent conflict or confrontation. It is a story of strategy, assertive leadership, and careful diplomacy. The United States, under President Trump, is signaling commitment to its interests, preparing for the challenges and opportunities of the Arctic, and maintaining strong relationships with its closest allies. Canada, equally engaged, continues to prioritize cooperation, dialogue, and strategic planning. By separating rhetoric from action, understanding context, and appreciating the complexity of international relations, it becomes clear that this narrative is one of leadership, foresight, and strategic focus. It is a reminder that strong statements and media attention, while dramatic, exist within a framework of careful, deliberate, and constructive diplomacy. The United States and Canada, despite occasional disagreements, remain steadfast partners navigating a changing global landscape together. In an era where headlines can distort understanding, this story stands as an example of measured analysis. President Trump's focus on Canada and Greenland reflects national priorities, global awareness, and proactive leadership. It is a narrative not of conflict, but of preparation, strategy, and engagement, an opportunity for citizens to observe international leadership in action and understand the intricate balance between diplomacy, national interest, and global cooperation. The United States, Canada, and Greenland each occupy crucial positions in the evolving Arctic and North American strategic landscape. President Trump's leadership ensures that American priorities are clearly communicated, potential challenges are anticipated, and alliances are strengthened through both visibility and substantive action. Canada's partnership remains vital, demonstrating that strong rhetoric can coexist with enduring cooperation and mutual benefit. This unfolding story is far from a fleeting headline. It represents the intersection of leadership, strategic focus, and global awareness, a real-time lesson in the complexities of diplomacy, negotiation, and international relations in the 21st century. By watching closely, observing carefully, and understanding context, audiences gain insight into how modern states protect interests, manage alliances, and navigate a rapidly changing world, ensuring that decisions are informed, deliberate, and aligned with long-term national and global objectives.